Welcome back. Yesterday we talked about the Battle of the Alamo. Today we're going to talk about basically the war with Mexico. The war with Mexico started really quick, really fast, really hard, and was over faster than you could think of it. The United States was ready. Mexico was not totally ready for the war. Mexico still being a new country, Antonio Lopez y Santa Anna is still kind of riveting and mad over what happened with the Alamo and what happened with the Battle of San Jacinto, was still kind of building his government, building his army, and looking at the idea of trying to figure out a way to get Texas back. Anything he could do to get Texas back. But it's still a new country he's building. 1821 was a revolution when they broke away from Spain. Scenario is United States is totally 100% ready for this. Texas sees this coming, and Texas kind of cuts a deal with the United States as to being the next state as far as being annexed into the United States. So, of course, President James K. Polk has a wonderful idea to try to do a little bit of agitating, as does Antonio Lopez y Santa Anna, a little bit agitating. Both armies send some small little bands of troops along the border, and when you get two armies on opposite sides of the border with guns, they're going to irritate each other just a little bit and start shooting at each other. Once that happens, we have the war. President Polk is going to ask immediately for a war, and Congress will give him a war on May 11th, 1846. We are ready. And as we are ready for war, the United States has been practicing for a very, very long time. Since the War of 1812 that we were not ready for, we now have a trained Marine Corps, a trained Army, and a trained Navy. We also have training camps, which include West Point to train officers for the Army, and Annapolis to train officers for the Navy and for the Marines. We are ready with our standing army. Mexico is not. Mexico being a new country, only about 20 years old, they are still trying to work out everything that they can. As soon as the war breaks, news gets out and everybody is totally ready. It's fine. Everybody is completely ready for the war. Matter of fact, news hits, and as news hits, we can see, like in this picture here, it goes wild. Why? Because everybody looks at the idea of getting revenge. People have heard the story of the Alamo that's been passed on from generation to generation now, and people are telling the younger folk, and they get ready to go that, and they want revenge. They want revenge for Davy Crockett, because everybody wants to remember the Alamo, help those heroes in Texas. They want revenge for Jim Bowie. Yes, the creator of the Bowie knife. This is a knife. And what happens here is everybody looks at the idea of going to war. We send out some of our best troops possible. Leading our troops, General Zachary Taylor. Matter of fact, Zachary Taylor did such a great job that later on, of course, as you can guess, he will become President of the United States. We have General Winfield Scott, does such a great job. He will be in charge of being the leading general of the United States, basically for the next 20 years, all the way up into the Civil War until he's fired by President Abraham Lincoln. And on the other side, we have President and General Antonio Lopez y Santa Anna. We send out our troops, our Army, our Navy, our Marine Corps. Mexico is still a young nation and trying to gather whatever they can. We are ready. We send out troops everywhere. There's no way that anybody could have been prepared for this whatsoever. No preparation. We attacked Mexico at every single direction possible. It was not just to annex Texas, it was to take Texas, to take Arizona, New Mexico, to take Colorado, take Utah, to take Nevada, and also get California. And make sure that that territory would be, one, purchased eventually in the end, but number two, that would be part of what we would call our manifest destiny. We've talked about this since the beginning. That idea of moving from coast to coast, from the Atlantic to the Pacific, we're moving from sea to shining sea, and that's our whole concept. So basically when we attack everywhere. We send in a Navy into places like San Diego, into Monterey. We send in an Army. Yes, even right here, a small band of Army, and some battles were fought right here in Yorba Linda, in Chino at the Yorba Slaughter, right across from Prado Park, even in Ontario. We'll find battles down in San Diego area, not just on the coast, but also inland. We'll have small battles in Arizona, New Mexico, all the way through. We sent an army right on down, immediate on through from Kansas, straight down into and through Texas to help protect Texas, but also down into Mexico, into Buena Vista, to cut off the railroads so that Mexico can't even send troops, nor can Mexico send supplies. And then the biggest move that's made is we send in our Navy and Marines off the East Coast to land, okay, at Veracruz. We also have a Navy and a Marine Corps. They'll be leaving San Diego and Monterey. They'll come down through the other end and will come off the Pacific Ocean and land at Mazatlan. The army at Mazatlan is not as important as the one at Veracruz. From Veracruz, this is where it will hit. The Navy comes in and lands, moves right through Veracruz and makes its way up to Mexico City. The last time Mexico saw an army come in like this hard, was in 1521 when the Spanish army came in and Mexico City was Tenochtitlan under control of Montezuma II. Mexico is being invaded. And as they go through and march on through, as you can see here on the map, as they continue to march on through from Veracruz up to Mexico City, Tenochtitlan, capital of Mexico here. Mexico is surrounded everywhere. Our troops are yelling, "Remember the Alamo! Remember the Alamo!" And those people who now look back at their history all going, "What happened to the Alamo?" They realize that every single man was slaughtered at the Alamo. Even the last and final three that were slaughtered at the feet of Santa Anna himself. They realize that basically the only thing that they can do is surrender. Mexico surrenders. Here's a scene, basically, this is in your textbook, you can read about it, basically at the surrender of Mexico City. Very little destruction was done to the city because the surrender was fairly quick. The goal was not to take Mexico, the goal was not to take Mexico City, but even an area of Cancun, that area there even tried to annex itself to the United States and annex itself away from Mexico. Tried to become independent, similar to what Texas did. At the end of this, United States troops pulled out of Mexico, and we worked out cutting out a deal with Mexico to get that area so that the United States can actually continue its manifest destiny. That idea is basically that disorganized army of Mexico was forced to surrender. The treaty will actually be called the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo. American forces, casualties, lost and wounded, 13,700. Mexican casualties, lost and wounded, somewhere about 25,000 plus. We're not sure on the numbers. However, this will be a big victory for our Marine Corps. They've been around since the very beginning of our battles, from 1775, before the American Revolution. They were huge during the War of 1812, and now here they are once again with the battle in Mexico. With that, even the Marine Corps anthem sounds off. From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli. That idea of our Marine Corps, the halls of Montezuma is Mexico City, which would have been Tenochtitlan at the time, to the shores of Tripoli, which was where the Marine Corps went and battered the Barbary pirates in the early 1800s as we tested our Navy with a brand new ship called the USS Constitution. For the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, the United States moved the border down to the Rio Grande, which is still our border today between the United States and Mexico. We will buy the Southwest, according to the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, which will actually cost us about $15 million. Do you realize within this year and a half of this war that the United States is going to actually find gold in California? So the United States looks at that gold in California, and that golden state becomes huge. Eventually what happens is with that gold, we're going to actually take and offer some more property, offer some more money for some property, which is a little teeny chunk to Mexico called the Gadsden Purchase. This will allow us to continue the Santa Fe Trail, later on allow us to continue a small area for the railroad. That area, Gadsden Purchase, this little teeny chunk of land, we paid $10,000 for. What does that look like? The Gadsden Purchase is this little teeny area here. That area that was basically the Mexican Cession, it's this large area right through here. So if you put this all together here, we're talking about $25 million is what we paid for it. After finding gold here around Sacramento, We also came down to this area, not just for the railroads coming across, the wagon trains coming across, but we also found silver in that area, which will be a great strike down in there. Especially for those of you guys who like Old West. One of my favorite places right down, a little tiny period place called Tombstone, which was one of the last great gunfights of the Old West. We'll look at the idea of manifest destiny and completing this manifest destiny tomorrow. I'm going to upload everything that I can. Thank you guys. Have a good day.